butnu production.
The longest journey of our trip was underway as we made our way from Olympia to Sparta. As we saw the landscape change drastically from the relatively flat farmlands of Ellada to the harsh mountainous landscape of Laconia, we were starting to see for the first time the environment that shaped perhaps the most unique city-state in ancient Greece.
Sometimes you're on a bus in Greece and you're just travelling along and you don't notice anything, and then suddenly you're on the side of a mountain. Absolutely unbelievable.
Our journey led us east to Tripoli, where we had to change bus before continuing south to Sparta. The new bus made everything look a bit purple. Sparta were famous for their military prowess, but their society was also one that drove an ancient breeding program, where men and women were separated and only the strong were allowed to survive.
As you can see, Sparta, pretty unremarkable. Nothing really much going on, you know. Bit of a shithole, really. I mean, I'm trying to remember where I went. I think it was somewhere like Rochdale. Rochdale's much better than this. Yeah, beautiful scenery, beautiful. And I met a friend yesterday she wasn't on her way to Sparta, she was on her way to Athens, but she took us through the bus station at Tripoli, really helped us through, and yeah, we had a little shout of a Spartan battle cry. So yeah, going well.
Just seen something quite special. There's a bird's nest on our balcony, and there's some chicks in there, and I just watched this swallow feeding her young. Got a lovely view, but that's just amazing.
Forget what you see in the movies. This is Sparta. Italia Pitas! Hey, well, it's day 8.
It's day 9.
And this is the day where we get to explore Sparta. There's actually quite a lot of things to do here. I think first off we're going to go and see an olive oil museum. And then we're off to see where they used to sacrifice their children. And they put stops to that though. And then we'll go see their Acropolis and loads of other stuff. And we also, first, went for breakfast.
Here's a classic piece of Greek driving.
The blue truck's parked on the corner so the bus can't get round it, but there's too much traffic for the bus to back up, and this blocked the junction for over half an hour.
We're just in the National Museum of the Olive and Olive Oil, and we're just learning loads about production, olives and olive oil. It's one of the oldest foods.
Reminiscent actually of the Simpsons episode where they go and visit the box factory.
It is a bit, but it's far more interesting, I think. You know, look at this. They've got a wall chart.
The Olive Museum was great. They had some olive oil presses and some big jugs which were used for storing olives. And a cool little model of a olive thing. And an outdoor bit with some olive presses. So we just had to stop and preserve the moment with some quick photos. Yeah.
Well, that was interesting.
It turns out Sparta had lots to see and do, so we couldn't waste any time reflecting on what we'd learned about the olive.
So now we've come to the Archaeological Museum of Sparta.
Museo Archeologico, if you will.
Yeah, and it's in a lovely park. Yeah,
looks impressive from the outside, but let's see what they've got inside.
The museum was actually a lot better than expected. It's only small, but it has a great collection that shows a very different view of ancient Spartans. There's children's toys, and sculptures, and even mosaics. The Spartans were famous for being ultra practical and rather austere, but this collection's far more artistic than their reputation would have you believe. Of course, at the root of all this aestheticism is their religion, and the changes to religion brought about by the Roman occupation, which began in 146 BC.
Well, so that was the museum. It was pretty good, actually. I really enjoyed it. Some really old pieces. I just found out as well there's like a national bike race, like the Tour de France or something, passing right by our hotel in a few minutes. So that's going to be interesting. And then we're going to see an art gallery next. And it's a lovely day as well.
Excited about this sudden opportunity, we tried to find a good spot to watch from. Luckily, there was room right next to the finish line. It was almost an omen from the gods themselves.
When we got to Patra, we stumbled upon it the day that their team, Olympiakos, were just playing in the European basketball final, which they won. After that, we've come to Sparta, and the Gyros Ellada, or the Tour of Greece, we're here at the end of the Spartan stage. How amazing is that?
First, there was a procession of children. Not sure what that's got to do with cycling. I'm not much of a fan of sport, to be honest. Of course, you know, the atmosphere is, So, it looked like these guys won, so good work there. And then, after a bit of a gap, these guys turn up. Not sure what took them so long, but there we go. Looks like everyone made it. There's comedian Larry David stepping in to wave the checkered flag. He's not doing a very good job though, he's just holding it. That's it, mate. Well done. Good work. With the race over, the crowd started to clear, so we decided to hang around for a bit and get some quick pictures of the statue of the hero king, Leonidas. Yeah! And then it was time to move on.
Just a photo.
So we just watched the bike race, and then we came up, and Ben wanted to come up to see the stadium, thinking it was an ancient one. And we walked in, and it's just their modern football stadium. So yeah, he was a bit disappointed. But now we're actually going to go to the ancient site. So yeah, that was pretty cool though, the race. Yeah.
This is the sanctuary of Leonidas. This is the site where supposedly, well, a very long time ago, the Spartans used to actually sacrifice their children to win favours from, I think it's Apollo. But they changed that after a while because they decided that's a bit inhumane. So in typical Spartan fashion, they just beat their children there instead. But yeah, not much of it left now, but it still would have been a very important place in ancient times. Yeah, they're basically saying...
Further out of town were the remnants of the ancient Acropolis, and that was the next thing on our agenda.
Oh, what if it's like dolphins?
So it's just started to rain. We just had a quick look around the National Gallery of Sparta, and yeah, there's all photography exhibits at the moment. It's pretty nice. Yeah, I had a good time anyway. And now we're off up to the ancient theatre, I think, before we head up to the Acropolis. Yeah. But we're a bit peckish, so we're trying to find somewhere to eat on the way. So fingers crossed. Yeah. Woo.
It was a bit of a shock when we first saw the site. There was no information other than a few signposts, and it didn't look like much excavation had even happened here. Preserving old relics clearly doesn't figure in the Spartan way.
Don't know what that is.
now that we're standing here, it really strikes you that just in keeping with the attitudes of the ancient Spartan people, this is what remains of the theatre, and we're standing on the Acropolis, and it just strikes you as being so humble, and you know, it's not here to attract tourists like the one in Athens would have been, or Delphi or Olympia. They were all about attracting tourists. This place is just a practical, functional place, you know, and even today it still is. It's not celebrated, it's really just tucked away off the beaten track. It's really quite interesting to be here and sort of feel that.
The other big thing you notice here is that, just like everywhere else in Greece really, the geography dictates everything. From the Acropolis here, you can see that Sparta sits in a basin surrounded by a ring of mountains. Any attackers would just be exhausted by the time they found their way through the mountains, and then they'd be spotted instantly by the defending Spartans from this awesome vantage point. And no doubt they'd be dispatched before they even made it to the edge of town. As the weather turned against us, I realised that I was quickly falling in love with this no-nonsense city. And here on the Acropolis, I almost felt a spiritual connection. A direct line to the past. But it wouldn't have felt right to leave without taking a few quick snaps just to capture the moment before going back into town.
Follow the rock brick road, follow the rock brick road, because if ever there was a king that went to Gallipoli and then committed several atrocities.
Going to get something to eat. We just stopped off in this little arcade, and we found a great many things to pass the time. We've done this air hockey, we've played some shooting games, basketball things, and we found that we're shit at all of them. So far on the trip, I've acquired a whole new range of footwear. I started off with these tatty old trainers. And then in Athens I picked up this snazzy pair of Greek sandals. And then in Olympia I picked up some cool slippers. So now I just don't know what to wear tonight. And tonight's our last night in Sparta, so we're going to go out in a, you know, classic Brit style and just hit some bars. And then we're off to Argos. It's kind of sad to leave Sparta though. I've had such a special time here. I don't know, it's weird. I really felt something while I've been here. Yeah. And we've had our laundry done, which is good.
So this is it, last day in Sparta. I think the things to pick up on, pardon me, are generally that everywhere that we've gone, to identify where I'm from, I say Sheffield, which is the Greek word for Sheffield. And then if that doesn't work, they don't understand what I'm talking about, which they sometimes do. They sometimes say Sheffield United. If that doesn't work, they then say, I then say Nottingham. And then once I've said Nottingham, if they don't understand that, I just follow it up with Nottingham Forest. And everywhere knows it by football teams. But in Sparta, they know Sheffield because they say Sheffield, Canis, which basically means dogs. So if they don't identify it by the football teams, they identify it by the dog track. Love it, absolutely love it.
Right, so we're on day 9.
Yes, it's day 10.
We've got a slight hitch, because there's no trains, we've got to get a bus to Tripoli and then a bus to Argos. But the last bus to Argos is at 2, and the next bus to Tripoli is at 1:15, so we won't make it on time really. Might do, but it's going to be 30 seconds in it, yeah. at best.
It'll be a photo finish.
Yeah, definitely. But we'll work it out. We're both pretty relaxed about it actually. It's pretty close. Worst comes to worst, we've got contingency plans.
Speaking of photo finishes, we finally found out how to place bets in Greece, like on the dogs.
So we're going to try and go to Argos and say farewell to Sparta.
So that's it for this week's episode. Join us next. So that's it for this week's episode. Join us. Look, would you shut up? I'm trying to do a voiceover here. I don't care. Nothing to do with me. Just trying to do this.
butnu production.